about that. So one of the things that, again, I'd be really curious about getting feedback from those of you who are attending, if you feel as though having the p-value for the graph is for the regression is really important. Now, if you go under the online examples, in fact, and you type in regression, there's a file here that has it's hypothesis testing for linear regression. If I open this file up, you see that here's a simple fit of some data. And over on the left-hand side here, you can select different input. So I have a data set that has column A is what I use for my X column, and then B1, B2, and B3. These are different columns that I can select for my Y. And I'm using what we refer to as these redirect columns to make it easy to just switch in between them. Notice that changes my values here. And what I'm doing is actually calculating the p-values for both the slope and the intercept over here on the left-hand side using an expression variable. So it can be done. You can calculate the p-value here, but it's not, again, it's not inherently included within that list. P-values, and I can't remember the name of the journal. I know there's a journal that actually sort of outlawed p-values entirely, because if you add more data, the p-value will tend to get lower and lower and lower and show more significance. I know someone here knows more about this than me and can probably point us to that. Thank you so much. So that's on the chat. Oh, although that only went to me. Russ, if you want to send that to everyone, that would probably be very helpful. So I wonder about this. Again, we could add the p-value as one of the parameters we calculate. One of the things, however, though, with the fit command is that it not only does the linear fit, it does all these other types of fits too. And for example, the R-square value is something that, although you can, we calculate it for a nonlinear fit, you'll find that there's criticism of using the R-square for the nonlinear fit. And I know some programs out there do not do that. Minitab does not calculate the R-square for nonlinear fits. GraphPad is another program that does similar things that they do calculate it. So it's available, we calculate it. So I don't know. I don't know if anyone has any strong feelings out there, but I'm very curious as to whether you feel we should include p-values within the parameters that we have, or if there's anyone who feels like, no, they're not missing it. So I see one vote for having the p-value in the fit parameters. There's also, again, the confidence intervals on the actual slope and intercept, which I'm showing here. Again, this is an example file that we have where you can see the fit parameter, you can see the value for the parameter, and the confidence interval, both the negative, which I think I probably have a variable here for this significance. So here I can change the significance using this slider that I set up for the negative and positive confidence intervals for my slope and my intercept. And I thought that this was actually a pretty interesting way to present the confidence intervals for the slope and the intercept. So what the p-value for the regression is actually checking is whether or not the slope is 0. You're actually doing a hypothesis testing, or that's what that p-value represents. So here if I change my significance level, then you can see how the confidence interval is changing. I'll just leave this at 95. And for example, for this particular regression that I'm doing here, the p-value for the slope, we would reject this because it shows that it includes 0 within that confidence interval. If I change the data that I have within this particular file. So if I go to select input here, and again, I'm just using a redirect on the same graph, then you can see that, for example, here, this is a different graph. This is a pretty good fit for sure. In this case, the p-value, actually it's less than a very, very small number, but it would come out as clearly as being significant. Okay, so this is very helpful. So saying that the says yes to include the p-values, but don't use p-values to say if something is statistically significant. And so one of the things that because the p-values and the confidence intervals wouldn't necessarily, well, maybe the confidence intervals would, but because the linear regression is kind of unique, and there would be other, for example, types of diagnostic plots that you might want to use and that are standard to be used for linear regression, that would be nice to include, not just having, for example, the, let me bring this over here, not just the residual plot that we have here, but to have other types of diagnostic plots included within the actual command. So what we've been thinking about is actually having a linear fit command that would have diagnostic plots very specific to linear regression. And then that would include a more of the standardized type of that, goodness of fit table that I think people are used to seeing. I actually had I had another example of that. So anyway, I know we're going over time, but I know a number of you are still there. Are there any questions I had not quite gotten to? Let's see. Oh, I think someone was asking again how to obtain the preview of the graph. And let me make sure that this is, for anyone who joined us late, this is something that we did in the beginning of the webinar, but basically just holding down the column, clicking the space bar gives you this histogram view. And if I have two columns selected, then I get a quick view of the regression, and I can even have more columns selected, and it will just continue to add them up to 4. That's 4 is the number that we have so far. Are there any other questions or comments? Let me see, I'm looking again to see if there's anything I've sort of missed. Oh, great, thank you very much. I always appreciate the feedback. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is to add, I can just show you very quickly. You're very welcome. Thank you. And yeah, we will be putting, hopefully the recording, everything worked fine, and we can put this on our YouTube channel. This is a document that we've been working on this week to basically, that has the step-by-step what we did in this webinar, showing you how to add each of them, and trying again to also highlight, showing the quick graph in a way that's hopefully useful, and this will go through each of the things that we did today. So this document is something that I'm going to post hopefully very soon, as just a few edits that I still need to make. But basically, this is essentially walks through a lot of what we talked about today, and is meant to be introductory, but also showing you these little tricks within the program that make it so quick to do some of this stuff and to use some of this. So I really thank you all. Okay, so here's a good comment about weighting the errors. We'll definitely be thinking about that. And thanks so much for your input. Let's see, on the confidence intervals. So I guess I should just say very quickly, my background is that I'm an engineer, I'm a chemist. I'm not a statistician, but I'm a user of statistics, try to use statistics appropriately as much as possible. But so you're getting kind of the scientist perspective on this. And thanks so much, everyone. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up for now, and be on the lookout for those documents that we'll post. We were pretty happy because our YouTube subscribership just went over 600 subscribers on YouTube. So if you want to get a notification when we do post these videos, then please consider subscribing to us on YouTube. And I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend. And yes, we will be posting the document on the website. Basically, we're going to be putting these documents in on the knowledge base. Still debating exactly how we're going to set that up because it's a little bit new. But the idea is to have some documents that are much more succinct in terms of showing you how to do things. The manual is a tool, the PDF manual, in addition to our online documents. A lot of people use the PDF manual, but I also recognize that it's over 100 pages and it has a lot of information that not everyone needs. So we are trying to think about ways to make it easier for people to jump into DataGraph and to use the program. So, okay, great. Thanks so much. And yeah, well, that's a good suggestion about showing the mouse clicks. I don't know if I can do that within this, within the Zoom. There was a comment about showing the mouse clicks as I do this. Yeah, I don't know if I can do this. If I can do that within Zoom. We can do that within the program we use sometimes to do screen captures. So maybe a companion demo video specific to this would be helpful, where we show the mouse clicks. And a suggestion for a future webinar. I'm thinking about using functions would be great. Also talking about categorical regression. That was something that was brought up in this, and how you would go about doing that within DataGraph. So anyway, okay, we'll go ahead and say goodbye. Thanks so much, everyone. And of course, I'm continuing to look at the chat. I'll have to check into that program. Thank you for suggesting that. I have to remember to save the chat so I can remember all the great comments everyone has. Excellent. Okay, thanks everyone.